She out feed her to her dogs, oh Lord. But she's so contagious. She is my bondage at the same time my liberation. Yeah. That girl is fire, fire, fire. Yeah. Everything she touches burns. Yeah.
Welcome back to another conversation with The Journey. If you're just joining me here, The Journey is a combination of everything along the way that I've learned along my journey, me kind of wrapping that up and sharing it with you. Everything from music to inspiration to wellness to yoga to healing, traveling, you name it. The goal is to share with you what I've learned in hopes that it may help and serve you along your path. So if you have been keeping up, you know that music has been a big part of my journey. I want to share songs and music with you along the way too, that either artists that I just really love, or songs that have been influential, or lyrics that have really had an impact on my life. So I hope you enjoy the music along the way too. Last week, we talked a lot about truth on the journey and how truth shows up in how you see yourself, how you see others, and how you respond in situations. And one of the things I mentioned is that along the way on our journey, we run into challenges in life, right? It's a given. We're not going to get through life without being challenged. Part of what makes things so challenging is when and if we don't have tools to help us through those challenging times. And so one of the things that I mentioned on the video about truth is that a lot of times when we respond in situations, we're responding from a place of fear. We're responding from a place of being triggered or being angry, or that anger is really a symptom of being triggered, but we're responding from a place that's not truthfully who we are, because we are no longer in a mindset to be able to do that. And so one of the things that helps us through that process, helps us through triggering situations, because we all get triggered. It's just a matter of what triggers you. What can help us through those triggering situations is when we have tools to rely on. And for me, one of those tools for really the last decade plus of my life has been my yoga practice. And so much so, I owned a yoga studio at one time. I've traveled to teach yoga, share yoga, and on this platform, sharing yoga with you in a way that hopefully brings it into your life in a way that's meaningful. So why yoga, right? It's not about the yoga pants or standing on your head or being flexible. One of the things that I always heard or often heard from new beginner yoga studios students when I owned the yoga studio was, I'm really nervous, I'm really afraid, I'm not flexible. And or people who have never tried yoga before say, I can't do that, I'm not flexible, there's no way I can do any of those poses. And so what I hope to bring to you today through this conversation really is maybe more of a high level understanding of what yoga is designed to do, what it is, what it's designed to do for your body, and how it can help to serve maybe as one of those tools that you go to when you're having a bad day, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling afraid. If we are real with ourselves and can tap into those feelings, we're able to then grab onto tools that can help us work through that, know that those feelings aren't going to last forever. So let's get into yoga. Yoga 101. Like I said, I'm not going to go too deep here. My goal is just that you leave here again thinking, I didn't know that about yoga. Maybe I can go try it, because it's no longer about me being flexible. That's the good news. That's part of what yoga is designed to help you do. But I'll clear up a little bit of a myth as to why it's designed to do that. So yoga, by definition, is to bring together. Some would say to yoke breath and movement. So combining breath and movement. So when you bring those two things together, the body naturally starts to begin the process of being able to calm itself down. So when we think about, I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible, part of what is causing your body to feel the way that it feels and not be flexible is because if we don't have a way to move through challenging situations or challenging emotions, whether you understand, believe it or not, we store those emotions in the body. So things like lower back pain, hip pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, whatever, that is a manifestation of some sort of emotion that is coming out of your body in a physical way to get your attention. And if we don't move the body, if we don't move the energy in the body, that gets stagnant, it gets stuck, it builds and grows in layers over time. So one of the thoughts in yoga, and just to kind of give you, or philosophies, if you will, about energy, I'm sure people may have their own thoughts about this, but just sharing with you what I've learned. A lot of times hip pain can be symbolic of emotions that you've stored there. Our hips are our largest joint in the body. And so if we sit for a long period of time during the day, think about that. Those emotions, any emotions that you're not moving, if you're not walking, if you're not doing some sort of physical movement, those emotions are going to get stuck. Over time, that is going to transfer down into the lower leg, the lower back, all the way up into the shoulder and the neck. So a lot of times the pain that we feel in certain areas of the body is just referred pain from the core or the root of the problem. And so not taking the opportunity to move your body every single day, or at least for 10 or 15 minutes, you're really creating just layers upon layers. If you think of dirt and time, things just build up. That's part of what's happening. And I'll share with you that for me, for the longest time, physical exercise was purely physical. It was about weighing a certain number, looking a certain way, wearing a certain size, fitting, just embodying that physical that physical body that society tells us we should look like. And it took me a really, really long time to be able to make peace with exercise for what exercise is really designed to do, which is to move the energy in your body, move around those emotions, heal and move. Because when we can heal and move, that stuff moves its way through. You're no longer having to hold on to it. You're no longer having to store it in the body. So my thought for you is, if it's not yoga, start with walking, start with stretching. We are all so used to sitting or being on our phones, so your neck is like this a lot of the times. If we don't have a practice of moving the body, those emotions are going to get stuck. So the yoga, maybe considering it as another tool, different than walking, different than running, different than other forms of exercise, again, brings that breath and that movement together. It's super challenging to do yoga and be in a lot of other places, although that's part of what happens, and that's part of why people struggle to do yoga, is because they say, my mind is just all over the place, I just can't concentrate. And that's a very real thing, right? It's hard to keep your mind focused naturally for all of us. So part of what we teach in yoga, and part of why the breath is so important, is because when you are really focused on saying the words to yourself, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, and you make that the focus, it gives your mind something else to do. It gives your mind a place to be, rather than the grocery list, the to-do list at work, the million other things that you have going on. So the mind just wants attention. The mind wants something to do. And in yoga, if you can bring that mind to the present moment, which is what focusing on the breath helps us to do, it starts to regulate the central nervous system by being able to just be in the moment, which for most of us, as we know, is extremely challenging. So again, part of the reason yoga is a different type of exercise is because it does, for lack of a better word, kind of force you to be in that moment. And when we bring that movement and that breath together, it has a whole host of effects on the body, on the mind. Just being able to take deep breaths. If you start with just breathing in to the count of 5 and breathing out to the count of 5, you're going to notice your body starts to feel different. The more stress and pressure that you get under throughout just daily tasks, or day-to-day life, not to mention if things are stressful, or you're going through a really hard time, that will compound our just natural day-to-day of how we suppress our emotions, how we don't breathe the way that we should be breathing. So really being conscious of how you're breathing throughout the day, taking a moment. If you notice your shoulders start to do this, especially if you sit at a desk a lot, Taking a moment to just sit up. Consciously pull your shoulders down. Imagine someone's got a string on the top of your head, pulling your head toward the ceiling, and doing those 5 deep breaths. To keep your mind even more present, take your hand, put it on your belly, breathe in to the count of 5, breathe out to the count of 5. That's a starting point, okay? So that's maybe some homework to try when you start to get in those moments of, oh my gosh, it's spinning out of control. Just start with the breathing. And then work yourself into doing yoga at home, trying a beginner's yoga class, trying like an easy stretch class. Try to bring that breath and that movement together. 30 minutes. If you do it in your own home, nobody's going to see you. You don't have to worry about looking silly. You don't have to worry about doing it wrong. That's a lot of times what keeps us from doing anything in life, right? We're afraid someone's going to reject us. We're afraid we're going to look stupid. We're afraid we're not going to do it right. So this is an opportunity for you to move past and through your own fears, to do something good for yourself, to try something different. And you'll notice over time, if you just try 2 or 3 times a week, your body will start to open up. Some of those emotions will start to release. Naturally, your shoulders will sit a little bit lower. You'll be conscious of your breathing a little bit more. And not for the sake of, hey, I do yoga, hey, I wear yoga pants, but really for your body, your mind, your spirit, and your soul, calming that central nervous system. Because when we can operate from that place, we're operating from a very different headspace, right? When you're grounded and you're calm, and you're rational, you're able to operate and look at and be in situations a lot differently than when you are triggered, when you are driven by emotion, anger, fear, sadness. Insert your go-to emotion there. When you're able to keep yourself grounded and find tools to be able to do that, that's really where you start to create really a different journey for yourself and how you move through life's challenging situations. Because the reality is, challenge is going to happen. Emotions are going to happen. People are going to piss you off every day, right? It's a matter of you controlling this and here, and that really is the only thing that you have control over. So practice the breathing that we talked about. Try a yoga class at home. Take the next step if you're ready. Maybe try a beginner yoga class at a yoga studio. Not that a gym is bad. Yoga at a gym is bad. Yoga in any environment is fantastic. However, I will tell you from my experience, strictly my opinion, you can argue with me if you like, or share your own opinion too. But yoga in a gym is very different than yoga in a yoga studio. It's a different vibe. It's a different feel. It's a different community. So just be aware of that as you maybe go down this path and go down this journey for your wellness and your yoga practice and what it means for you. So yoga is much more than just yoga pants and headstands and doing crazy poses. Yoga really is a tool to keep you present, keep you grounded in the craziness of life and the chaos of life, because it's going to happen, right? So think about, what are your tools to help you move through the stuff that happens that creates layers and layers and layers and layers of emotion that, if you don't move in your body, will manifest into something much more that will be a much bigger problem at some point in your life. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for stopping by, and I look forward to seeing y'all again soon.
She's a crazy woman, I tell you, hair pulling. I can